We're now joined with George. We're out and about. We're at the Bluetown Heritage Centre. We're actually upstairs at the moment. And George, you've been taking me around your photography exhibition and showing me it. But could you explain to our listeners what it's all about and how it came about?
Well, I mean, I've got to admit, 38 years ago, I never ever expected to be standing back in Sheerness talking about the photographs. 38 years ago, I was a young teacher. I was 23-year-old when I stepped off the train at Sheerness. And I started a career teaching at the Sheppey School. Sheppey School was called the Sheppey Community College in those days.
Okay.
Now, I started off teaching, and as you probably can tell, I've got quite a strong Wearside accent. And in those days, accents were quite unusual. So for me to come down to the Isle of Sheppey and to talk to the kids in the classroom, half of them didn't understand what I was saying. And coupled with that, my handwriting wasn't very good. So in order to make my lessons more interesting, I bought a camera. And the idea was I would take photographs out of books and I would show them on the slide projector, and that would make my lessons more interesting.
Yeah.
But having a camera in the classroom, it was quite natural in those days to take photographs of the children. And what you see on show today are these photographs that I took. And some of the little coloured ones that you see were the very first photographs that I took back in 1974. And I remember the day quite clearly. It was the end of the day on a dark January evening, and I'd gone back for the final register, and the tutor group was sitting around, and I just took photographs there. And that's what's on display then. But as time went on, a teacher colleague showed me how to develop black and white pictures.
Okay.
So I started doing my own pictures in a little bedroom in the house I shared with other teachers. And I would take photographs during the daytime, develop them at night, go into school the next day and give the pupils, or students as we call them, give the students the photographs, and they would take them home and show the parents. And I did that for 3 years doing that, and then I left to go to another school and put those photographs away. And unfortunately, most of the photographs that I took during the time I've lost, but I kept a few of them up in the loft. And then 38 years later, Janice Thornton contacted me through Facebook and said, "I've seen some of your photographs. Have you got any photographs of the Isle of Sheppey for the promenade?" So I went up into the loft and raked out all these old photographs and rescanned them and repaired the damaged ones. And these are what's on show now.
That's what I was going to ask you, actually. Was it difficult to rescan some of the old photographs in and get them up to a quality?
Well, that's really interesting, because when I looked at the pictures out of the loft, they were horrible. They were old photographs, snapshots that you get from Woolworths, from Boots, and they looked absolutely terrible. Janice kept 3 of the photographs that I'd give her, and one of the photographs was quite damaged. And I thought, well, how am I going to do that? How am I going to make them better? But modern technology these days is just so good that I was able to repair the photographs and to rescan them, and the quality of the photographs now is actually better than the photographs were when they were taken 38 years ago.
And what was quite interesting, you were showing me one and it was a coloured photograph, but you were letting me know the original was actually black and white, and digitally you've been able to make it colour.
Yes, well that's another interesting thing as well, because back in those days, colour, you could only afford colour photographs from little snapshots. If you wanted large photographs in colour, it cost a lot of money, and you just couldn't afford it. So the only thing I could do was to take black and white photographs. And then I would think, well, how can I make them like colour photographs? And I tried to colorise them with crayons and whatever, like the old technology. But it never worked, and they were like child's photographs. But a lady contacted me through my Flickr website, and she actually colorised my pictures. So the pictures on show here are by a lady called Marie Saint-Mart, and she colorised them. And I just think they're very interesting to see how she's used modern technology to turn them into colour.
Now, you mentioned how Janice contacted you. She was letting me know that she become re-aware of you through a BBC television programme.
Yes, well, yes, it was called The Great Estate. It was about the history of council housing. Now, I started teaching here when I was 23. I was a chemistry teacher, and after 3 years, I applied for a job in the new estate called Thamesmead up in South East London. But by this time, I'd become really interested in photography. So when I went to Thamesmead in London, I told the headmaster that I wanted to use photography to work with the children to help boost their self-esteem, to show them positive images of themselves. And in those days, there wasn't the problem about photographing school children, and they were quite happy to let me take photographs of them. So when I went to Thamesmead, a lot of the time as a teacher in Thamesmead, I was taking photographs of the children. Now, those photographs were put on the Flickr website, and there was a lot of interest from all over the world. And I was contacted by the BBC, who said they wanted to do a documentary about council housing and the history of council housing, and they wanted to use my photographs from Thamesmead on that programme. And Janice saw that and contacted me.
Now, you mentioned a Flickr website. How could our listeners find that to have a little look?
All right. Well, it's a photo sharing website like YouTube.
Yeah.
Like YouTube is more about videos. Well, Flickr is about still photographs mainly. And so if you go onto Google or Yahoo and type in Flickr, you'll get through to the website. So if somebody wanted to see the photographs, all they would have to do would be type in Flickr, which is Flickr, Sheppey School, George Plemper, and it would take them through to that. And if they wanted to see the pictures in Thamesmead and Riverside School, it would be Flickr, George Plemper, Thamesmead, Riverside School.
George, thank you very much for speaking to me here at BRFM.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.